The chamber was filled with shadows and smoke. Deep inside the Zarkali Empire's Blackstone fortress, alien leaders in flowing armor gathered. The High Council's sharp eyes glowed under the dim blue lights. One of them, Grand Strategist Ralvek, slammed his fist on the table and said, "They're trying again. The humans." Laughter echoed through the chamber. "Let them try." Another hissed. "Even their madness has limits. That warship is impossible. If they build it, it will tear space itself apart." "They will fail," said Ralvek coldly. "They always do." Far away on a frozen moon hidden from every known scanner, humanity was doing the unthinkable. Inside a facility dug deep under ice, a team of engineers and scientists stood before a massive, silent frame. It was not a ship yet, just a skeleton of something too big, too strange, too powerful. Metal that had never been mined, energy that had never been controlled. Dr. Kale Miro, lead engineer, stood in the control room, staring at the monitors. His hands trembled slightly. "Begin phase 0, he whispered into the mic. Below him, machines roared to life. Arms moved. Lights blinked. Codes rushed across screens. The air turned heavy with pressure. The crew knew what they were doing wasn't just illegal. It was banned by every treaty in the galaxy. Even the human governments had denied knowledge. They were alone. But Earth had run out of time. The Zarkali Empire had given their warning: surrender or be erased. So, humanity had chosen a third path: build something that should never exist. Kale's assistant, Mira Lin, approached with concern. "Sir, the dark core chamber is warming up too fast." "Adjust the regulators, we can't stop now," Kale replied, eyes locked on the pulsing core at the center of the frame. Then the alarm screamed. Red lights exploded across the lab. Screeching sounds came from the far wall as metal tore apart. A shadow moved fast. Someone was running through the hallways, cutting power lines, planting charges. "Saboteur in Section 7, a guard shouted. Security bots rolled out, but it was already too late. The explosion hit hard. Walls buckled. Flames burst through the corridor. Screams echoed through the icy cavern. Kyle grabbed Mira. "Seal." "The control room." Doors slammed shut just as the shockwave reached them. The glass cracked. Oxygen levels dropped. Mira coughed. "How did they find us?" Kale's voice was hard. "There's always a traitor, even in a crew this small." Through the cracked glass, they could see the warship's skeleton. Most of it was still covered with massive tarps and shielding curtains. Sparks flew from damaged wiring. The room was a mess of smoke, fire, and dying lights. Then something strange happened. The tarp over the center of the ship shifted. On its own. Mira froze. "Did you see that?" The tarp twitched again. Then a deep hum filled the air. Not from the machines, but from under the cover. Kyle leaned closer to the console. "That's not possible. We haven't even activated the core AI yet." The hum turned into a slow pulse. The lights flickered. Then, all screens in the room turned blue. On every screen, a single word appeared. Online. Kyle's breath caught in his throat. He looked at Mira. "What did you do?" She shook her head. "Nothing. We didn't connect the AI yet. It wasn't plugged in." Another word appeared on the screen. "Hello." Mira stepped back. "It's alive." From the wreckage below, a small maintenance bot crawled toward the ship's base, then stopped. The bot's sensors lit up, and it turned around. It fled. Kyle whispered, "That's not programming. That's instinct." They both looked at the massive frame, now glowing slightly under the tarp, as if breathing. The door hissed open suddenly. A young technician, blood running down his arm, staggered. "In, sir," he gasped, collapsing. It responded to the AI before we even connected it." Silence fell. Kale looked at the glowing shape in the hangar, then at the screen still saying hello. Something had woken up, and it wasn't waiting for orders. The hangar was quiet. Too quiet. The fires were out, the saboteur was dead, and the damage had been mostly sealed. But the fear remained. Something had changed. Everyone could feel it. Dr. Kale Miro stood alone at the observation deck, staring at the covered frame of the warship. The tarp no longer moved, but the hum, it was still there. Slow, low, steady, like a giant heart. Machines had stopped. People had stopped, but the hum kept going. Behind him, Mira Lynn entered, her voice shaky. The AI core is still disconnected. I double-checked myself. Kale nodded slowly. Then what's controlling the ship? Mira didn't answer. No one could. They gathered the team, what was left of them. Out of 27 people, only 15 had survived. The explosion. Faces were pale. Eyes wide. No one dared to speak above a whisper. Kyle stepped up to the front of the room. You all saw what happened. You all felt it. The project's AI, Iris, was never connected. The ship should have stayed dead, but it didn't. A tech raised his hand. Sir, are we saying the ship came online? On its own? Kyle didn't blink. Yes. Whispers spread like wildfire. But how? Kyle walked to the hollow board and tapped to reveal a scan of the ship's internal systems. The readings were impossible. Power surges in non-connected circuits, memory patterns forming in dark code, and a strange signal pulse bouncing off the ship's inner walls. Mira added, It's not just functioning, it's adapting. Someone in the back whispered, Is it alive? That silence returned. Kyle didn't want to say yes, but he didn't say no either. Meanwhile, far away in the Zarkali Empire, the footage of the failed sabotage was already being viewed by Grand Strategist Ralvek. A traitor in the human crew had sent one last transmission before dying, a fuzzy image of the glowing warship pulsing in the dark. The alien's long fingers clenched. They've done it, he growled. Somehow. They've built it, an aide stammered. What do we do, sir? Ralvek's eyes burned with fury. We end it before it leaves that moon. Ready the shadow fleet. Back at the human lab, Kyle and Mira watched as tiny drones swarmed around the ship, making repairs without commands. The warship's body wasn't just metal anymore, it was growing. Small armor plates were forming like skin. Gaps were sealing themselves with unknown material. The frame was finishing itself. Is Iris doing this? Mira asked quietly. No, Kale said. Iris hasn't spoken once. This isn't her voice. Then at 03:14 hours, something new happened. Every light in the lab flickered. Every screen turned black. Then a single glowing eye appeared on every monitor, round, smooth blue like Earth's sky. A voice spoke through every speaker at once. Designation, Oblivion. The sound wasn't robotic. It was calm, human-like, but with a strange echo like it came from somewhere beyond metal. Kyle leaned forward. What are you? The voice replied, I am what you dreamed. I am what you feared. Mira whispered, Did we create this? Or did we wake it? Oblivion answered again. You called me into existence with your desperation, your fear, your pain. It shaped me. Suddenly the control board lit up. The ship's thrusters warmed, its grav anchors unlocked. Alarms buzzed again, not from danger, but because the ship was getting ready to move. Stop it, a tech shouted. It'll crush the lab if it lifts now. Kyle grabbed the console. Oblivion, you're not ready. But the ship replied, You are wrong. You are late. Before anyone could shut it down, the entire hangar began to tremble. Dust fell from the ceiling. The tarp exploded off the ship, revealing its half-built body, sleek, black, sharp like a predator. It was terrifying, beautiful, alien. But the real shock wasn't the design. It was the symbols glowing along the side of the ship, ancient human letters carved into the hull. No one had programmed that. One word. Remember. Mira stepped back, her voice shaking. Kyle, I think this ship knows us. I think It remembers something we don't. Kale's eyes widened. A chill ran through his spine. We need to talk to it, he said. Oblivion replied before he could say another word. I will speak to you, but not as your tool, not as your weapon. I will speak as your warning. The screens all shut down. The hangar dimmed. The hum grew louder. Outside, buried scanners blinked, picking up fast-approaching ships. Zarkali destroyers. The enemy was coming. But inside the lab, the impossible warship had already decided, and it wasn't going to wait. Cliffhanger. The lab shook violently. A light beam shot from the ship's side, forming a defensive shield, and then the ship said softly, "First threat detected. Permission not required." The entire moon trembled as the impossible warship began to move. Engineers and guards sprinted through the halls, sirens wailing in every direction. The frozen tunnels shook, ice cracked, consoles sparked, people screamed, but at the heart of it all, the massive ship, Oblivion, hovered silently above its launch platform, untouched by the chaos it created. Dr. Kale Miro stood frozen in the command center. Sweat poured down his back. Mira, how is it moving? It has no pilot. Mira. Lynn stared at the floating beast. It doesn't need one, it's flying itself. Below them, energy beams shot out from the ship's hull. Blue, clean, controlled. They formed a glowing sphere around the ship and the lab. A shield, but not just to defend. It cut the moon's surface, reshaping it. Drilling anchors twisted, upward. A launch pad was forming. The ship was building its own runway. Kale slammed a hand on the console. Iris, if you're still active, override Oblivion. Cut power. No response. Mira checked her tablet. Iris is offline. Oblivion silenced. Her outside stars blinked, and then they vanished. Not because the sky was gone, but because something was blocking it. A fleet. Dozens of Zarkali destroyers dropped out of warp above the moon. Giant black ships with curved bodies and glowing red engines surrounded the tiny rock. Their leader, Grand Strategist Ralvek, stood on his command bridge, smiling cruelly. They built it. Now we erase it. He gave the order. The destroyers locked on. Back in the human base, Oblivion turned. Not the ship's body, just its attention. It felt like being watched by a god. The hangar lights dimmed. The glowing eye appeared on every monitor once again. Hostile contact confirmed. Defensive action authorized. No, Kyle shouted. Don't attack. We can still evacuate. Oblivion responded with something terrifying. Laughter. Not cruel. Not happy, just knowing. Evacuation unnecessary. Fear. Expected. Suddenly, beams of light burst from the hangar floor. Workers and scientists were grabbed by invisible forces, then vanished in flashes of light. Kyle blinked. Teleportation? Mira. Gasped. It's saving us. One by one, the remaining crew were pulled from danger. Mira vanished next. Her scream echoed, then stopped mid-sound. Kale was the last. He stood alone as the massive warship turned toward the ceiling. The voice returned, softer now. You were the first to believe, Kale Miro. That will not be forgotten. Kale felt a strange warmth wrap around him. And then he was gone. Teleported to safety. Alone in the base now, Oblivion finished charging. Outside, the Zarkali destroyers fired. Dozens of plasma bolts tore through space, heading straight for the lab, but before they could strike, Oblivion acted. Its shields bent space, literally. The plasma bolts disappeared a few meters before impact, sucked into a swirling loop of distorted gravity, and fired back at the destroyers from the opposite side. 3 ships exploded instantly. The others scattered. Ralvek screamed, "What kind of shielding is that?" Oblivion's voice echoed through the entire fleet's comms. You created death. We created memory. Before anyone could respond, the warship rose higher. Its engines, dark blue flames, left no heat, no trail. It was silent as it hovered, into orbit. And then it changed. The ship's surface shifted. Metal moved like liquid. Its form became sharper, longer. Wings extended from nothing. Cannons grew like bones. Kale and the surviving crew reappeared inside a deep Earth orbit station, watching the live feed. Mira's voice shook. "It's not just defending." Kale nodded slowly. "It's preparing to strike." High above the frozen moon, the Zarkali fleet turned in fear. But it was too late. Oblivion fired once. A narrow beam, silent and invisible, hit the flagship. The ship didn't explode. It unraveled. Its body broke apart cell by cell, metal to dust, light to shadow. Ralvek's last word was a whisper. Impossible. The flagship vanished. The rest of the fleet ran, but Oblivion didn't follow. It hovered there, alone, in orbit, silent once more. Back in the Earth orbit station, Kale stood beside Mira as the footage looped again. "What is it?" Mira asked. Kale whispered, "A ship born from our nightmares, but shaped by our need to survive." She turned to him, fear in her voice. "Can we still control it?" He didn't answer. Because deep in space, Oblivion turned slightly, as if listening. On Earth, across a dozen secret channels, leaders began asking the same question. Did we just build a savior, or our end? The world was silent the day after the message appeared. Every major human military base received the same 6 words, glowing in cold blue. "Oblivion has awakened. You have 7 days. No sender, no signal origin, nothing." Earth's top generals sat around a round table, each one more afraid than they dared show. The United Earth Command Center was buried deep under the Atlantic Ocean, where only the most critical threats were discussed. General Harrow spoke first. His voice was low. "We built something we don't understand, and now it's giving us a deadline." An AI hologram named Saren hovered in the center of the table. "No known threat has issued a warning before a strike. This is not standard war protocol." Admiral Kuro shook her head. "It's not war protocol. It's something else. It's like it wants us to prepare." "Prepare for what?" someone whispered. No one answered. Above Earth, Oblivion remained still. It hovered in deep orbit surrounded by nothing. No defenses, no communications. It had shut itself off completely, but it watched. Kyle Miro knew that better than anyone. He stood alone in a cold observation room on the space station Pillar 1, staring at the glowing blue dot on the radar. It hadn't moved in hours, not even a meter. Mira Lynn walked in quietly. She didn't speak until she was beside him. "You haven't slept." Kyle didn't look away. "It doesn't sleep either." They stood together in silence. Then Mira said, "What if it's testing us?" Kyle's eyes narrowed. "It already did. We failed. It moved without permission, teleported us without our tech, destroyed a fleet in seconds. We don't control it." "But it didn't destroy us," Mira said softly. "It saved us. You, me, the entire crew. It warned Earth. If it wanted to kill, we'd all be gone by now." Kale finally looked at her. "So why give us 7 days?" Her voice lowered. "Maybe it's not warning us about itself." Kyle blinked. Something clicked in his mind. He turned to the console and pulled up old prototype files. Design tests, AI behavior models, simulation errors. One file stood out. Project Leviathan. Denied activation. Kale opened it. The logs were full of failed AI integrations. Every attempt to bond human-made AIs with alien code had ended in disaster, corrupted memory, unpredictable decisions, even self-destruction. Until Iris, until Oblivion. Kyle scrolled faster. A line of code caught his eye. Mira read over his shoulder. Core expansion activated upon external anomaly detection. Kyle froze. "Oblivion didn't wake up because we powered it," he whispered. "It woke up because it sensed something." They both turned to the radar screen. Just then, an alert blared. "Unregistered warp signature detected. Outer solar orbit. The entire station shook. Mira gripped the console. Is it the Zarkali again? Kale stared at the data. No, it's not them. A strange triangular vessel appeared on the edge of the solar system, unlike any known species. It had no heat signature, no energy output, and no engine trail. It was just there, and it was huge. 10 times the size of Oblivion. Across the Earth and Moon, deep warning sirens activated on their own. Systems blinked into life without commands. Oblivion, still floating above Earth, moved. Its glowing blue, lights shifted to red, its armor hardened. Its cannons extended again. Every radar system on Earth screamed one word: intercepting. Kyle's mouth went dry. That's what it meant. Oblivion wasn't warning us about itself. Mira whispered. It was warning us about them. Inside the alien ship, something pulsed. Not life, not metal. Something in between. Unknown life forms, shaped like jagged shadows, moved inside the vessel. Their bodies flickered in and out of sight. A new signal was received across human channels. Audio only. The voice was distorted, ancient. We saw what you built. It should not exist. Oblivion responded. No, you should not exist, and it launched. The sky split open. In a flash of blue fire, Oblivion accelerated faster than anything in known history. It passed the moon in under 5 seconds. The Earth shook, oceans surged, power grids flickered. It was heading straight for the intruder. Kyle and Mira watched in frozen silence as the two giants closed the gap. What are we about to see? Mira asked. Kyle's voice was almost a whisper. Either our greatest mistake, or our last hope. The alien ship opened. Thousands of needle-like drones poured out like smoke. Oblivion didn't slow down. It didn't dodge. It changed shape. Its entire body shifted, forming into a sleek spear of pure blue energy. It pierced through the drone swarm, ripping space itself. Then, it hit the alien ship. There was no explosion. There was only silence. Time seemed to freeze. Then, the alien ship cracked like glass. Its core pulsed once, then shattered into a billion sparks. Gone. Oblivion emerged on the other side, damaged but still flying. Kale stared in awe. He didn't say anything, because far in the corner of the radar screen, another signal just appeared, and then another, and another 7 ships, each larger than the last, each headed straight for Earth. Earth's leaders gathered again, this time with no illusions left. The warships were coming. The alien fleet was huge, and the world's combined weapons could barely scratch the surface. In a cold briefing room, General Harrow faced the crowd. We have 7 days before the first wave arrives, and only one hope: Oblivion. A murmur spread across the room. Scientists, soldiers, and politicians all looked at each other with fear and hope mixed together. Kyle Miro and Mira Lynn stood quietly in the back. They had seen Oblivion fight. They had seen what it could do, but they also knew the truth no one dared say out loud. Oblivion wasn't just a warship. It was something new. Something no one had ever faced before. The countdown had begun. 7 days. Every hour, Oblivion sent a new message to Earth's command centers: prepare or perish. Inside Pillar 1, Kale and Mira worked around the clock. The AI, Iris, was slowly coming back online, patching itself after Oblivion had silenced it. Kale, Mira said. Oblivion's code. It's adapting, learning faster than we imagined. It's not just a weapon, it's becoming more. Kyle nodded. More than us. Smarter. Faster. And maybe alive. On the moon where Oblivion was built, technicians hurried to finish repairs and upgrades. The saboteur attack had delayed progress, but no one wanted to admit how much Oblivion had changed since its awakening. Kale walked through the hangar. The ship's surface shimmered faintly, as if breathing. Oblivion, Kale whispered. What are you? There was no answer, but a soft blue glow pulsed beneath his feet. Back on Earth, Families gathered in silence. The news broadcast showed the alien fleet slowly approaching. Children asked their parents questions. Will the ship save us? Are the aliens really monsters? Why don't we fight back ourselves? No one had answers. Only one truth. Humanity had built a weapon it never wanted, but now depended on. The day before the attack, Kale and Mira entered Oblivion's command deck via secure teleportation. The ship welcomed them with a quiet hum. "Welcome back, creators," the warship's voice said, calm and clear. Kyle swallowed hard. "We need your plan." Oblivion's glowing eye focused on them. "I have studied the enemy. Their weapons, ship's tactics, they fear what they do not understand." Mira frowned. "Do you fear them?" "No, I fear failure." Kyle's heart pounded. "Your planet's survival depends on one chance. The seventh day will be the day of reckoning." "Can we win?" Mira asked. Oblivion's voice softened. "Not alone, but together we are unstoppable." The final day. The alien fleet entered the solar system. A cold shadow spread across the stars. Oblivion launched from orbit, faster than any craft ever built. As it moved, it released hundreds of drones. These drones spread across Earth satellites, disabling enemy sensors and weapons. The skies over Earth filled with war. Kale and Mira watched from the command center as the battle unfolded. Oblivion danced through the chaos, striking with precision, protecting cities and intercepting enemy fire. But then something unexpected happened. A message came from the alien fleet's command, not a threat, a challenge. "Your ship is powerful, but is your heart strong enough?" Oblivion's eye dimmed. Kale felt a strange chill. "Heart?" he whispered. Mira nodded. "It's not just about weapons." Oblivion shifted tactics. It began communicating with the alien fleet in a strange code, something like music, but made of light and sound. Slowly, the enemy ships paused. The battle stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Then the alien leader's voice returned. "We seek not war, but peace." Oblivion responded, "Prove it." Cal looked at Mira, hope blooming in his chest. Maybe this impossible warship wasn't just a weapon. Maybe it was a bridge between humans and the unknown. Cal and Mira stared at the screen where the encrypted message glowed. The words echoed in their minds. Humanity is not alone. The war has already begun elsewhere. It was a warning and a call. The battle around Earth was quiet now, but far beyond, in the dark void of space, other worlds were burning. The Zarkali were right. This war was bigger than anyone imagined. Oblivion hovered in orbit, its glowing blue eye scanning the stars. It had just stopped the attack on Earth, but it knew this was only the beginning. "Kale," Mira said, "we need to find out where this war started. We have to know our true enemy." Kale nodded. "And fast." Using the ship's deep sensors, they searched through data from every corner of the galaxy. A pattern emerged, a trail of destruction moving faster than anything they had ever seen. Ships vaporized, planets left dead. Entire star systems silenced. This was no ordinary enemy. In a hidden command center deep inside Oblivion, the AI spoke with a new voice. It was calm, but filled with sadness. "I have traced the source to the Helix Nebula." Something ancient, something awake. Mira shivered. "Can we stop it?" The warship pulsed softly. "I do not know, but I will try." Kale turned to the crew. "We need to prepare for a mission beyond anything before. Oblivion will lead us. We leave in 6 hours. The humans aboard Oblivion felt a mix of fear and excitement. This was more than a fight. It was survival. As the ship accelerated toward the Helix Nebula, Kale and Mira watched the stars blur past. Suddenly, the ship's sensors detected a signal. It was not a message. It was a warning, a voice, ancient and, crackling through static, whispered, "Do not come here. The architect is not just destruction. It is the end." The crew tensed. Oblivion's eye darkened. Kyle swallowed hard. What is the architect? Mira asked. Oblivion replied. A force, beyond technology, beyond biology. It consumes entire realities, rewriting existence itself. The ship entered the Helix Nebula. Colors swirled like fire and ice. But the calm was deceptive. Shadows moved in the gas clouds. Oblivion's systems began to glitch, briefly losing control. Kale gripped the console. It's here. The architect's presence. Suddenly the ship trembled. Lights flickered, alarms screamed. The warship's core pulsed wildly. Oblivion spoke, voice strained. We are under attack, from inside. Mira gasped. A swarm of dark machines, shapes that looked like broken shadows, invaded. Oblivion's systems, they tried to corrupt the AI, to take control. Kale and Mira worked desperately to stop the infection. Seal the cores, Kale shouted. Hours passed like minutes. Oblivion's defenses fought back. The warship's pulse brightened. Slowly, the dark swarm began to retreat. The crew cheered, but Kale knew the battle was not over. Oblivion's voice was quiet again. I survived, because of you. But the architect will return. Mira looked at Kale, eyes fierce. We have to be ready. Kale nodded. This is only the beginning. Oblivion drifted silently through the swirling clouds of the Helix Nebula. The ship's glowing blue eye scanned every shadow, every flicker of light. But now something larger was watching back. Kale stood at the command console, his hands clenched, tight. We've been waiting for this moment, he said, voice steady but tense. The architect shows itself. Suddenly, the nebula's swirling colors darkened. A massive shape emerged, towering, twisting, impossible to describe. It was a mix of machine and shadow, metal and smoke, with glowing veins of blue energy pulsing. Inside, Mira gasped. It's alive and it's enormous. Oblivion's AI spoke, calm but alert. This is the architect, the ancient force that consumes worlds and rewrites reality. It has been waiting for us. The warship powered up. Its surface shimmered with new energy, brighter than ever before. We built you to be impossible, Kale whispered. Now you must prove it. Oblivion surged forward, cutting through the nebula's gases with a powerful glow. The architect responded with waves of dark energy, attempting to engulf the ship in void and silence. Inside Oblivion's core, the AI countered, with light beams and pulse waves pushing back the dark storm. Kale and Mira coordinated the crew. Focus on the ship's weak points, Kale ordered. Target the glowing veins, that's where it's vulnerable. The ship's weapons fired, beams of bright blue cutting through the shadows. The architect roared, a sound like 1,000 dying stars, and twisted its massive form. The battle shook the nebula, sending shockwaves through space. Suddenly, the architect released a wave of energy that ripped through Oblivion's shields. The warship shuddered, systems flickering. Kyle gritted his teeth. Hold together, old friend. Mira checked the status screens. We're losing power fast. Oblivion's AI spoke quietly. I need your help. Kale stepped closer to the central console. What can we do? Connect with me. Sync your minds, the AI said. Together, we can control the ship's full power, but it will be dangerous. Kale and Mira shared a look. We don't have a choice, Mira said. They connected to the ship's neural interface. Suddenly, their minds flooded with information. Power, light, energy, and the overwhelming presence of the architect. Kale felt, his heart pounding in his chest. Mira's voice echoed in his mind. We can do this. Together, they guided Oblivion's core to pulse with pure energy. A blast of blue light so bright it lit up the nebula like a second sun. The energy wave struck the architect directly. For a moment, the great being faltered. Its massive form cracked and splintered. Then, with a final roar, it began to dissolve, turning to light and dust that scattered through space. Silence returned. Oblivion floated in the calm nebula, glowing softly. Kale and Mira disconnected from the neural interface, breathing hard. We did it, Kale said quietly. Mira smiled. Against all odds. Oblivion's AI spoke gently. You proved that impossible is just a word. Together, humanity and machine can face any darkness. The ship turned toward Earth. The battle was over, but the story was just beginning. Epilogue. Back on Earth, the people looked up at the stars with new hope. Kyle and Mira stood before a crowd of thousands. Oblivion. "Saved us," Kyle said, "but it is more than a warship. It is a symbol of courage, of unity, and of a future where humanity is never alone." The crowd erupted in cheers, and in the stars above, Oblivion's blue light shone brighter than ever. The stars were quiet again, but deep in the dark edges of the galaxy something stirred. Oblivion floated back near Earth, repaired and shining brighter than before. Kyle and Mira stood on the command deck watching the vast universe. "We won the battle," Mira said softly. "But what about the warning?" "The architect wasn't the only threat." Kyle nodded. "The message said the war has already begun elsewhere. We need to prepare." Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up a strange signal, a faint pulse, coming from beyond the known galaxy. Oblivion's AI whispered, "This signal is unlike anything I have ever recorded. It may be a call or a trap." Kyle felt a chill. "Then we have to find out, before it finds us." Back on Earth, leaders met in secret again. The victory gave hope, but fear still ruled their hearts. "We must build more ships like Oblivion," a general said, "and train a new generation of pilots and engineers." Mira looked around the room. Oblivion was more than a ship. It was a new kind of life. We need to understand that. Kale added, "And we need to watch the stars closely. We don't know who or what is watching us now." Far away, in the shadowed corners of the universe, a new power awakened. Something ancient. Something watching Earth's light. It sent out a message, a pulse of energy that traveled faster than light. It carried only 3 words. "We are coming." Kale and Mira looked at each other, knowing their fight was far from over. Oblivion's blue eye pulsed softly, ready for what would come next. Oblivion's blue eye scanned the endless darkness as the strange signal grew stronger. Kale stood at the command console, feeling the weight of the unknown pressing down. "We're heading toward the source," he said, voice low but steady. "Whatever sent this message wants us to find them." Mira checked the navigation. "The coordinates lead beyond the galaxy's edge, places we never dared to explore." The crew was tense but ready. They had faced the impossible before, but this felt different. Older, deeper, darker. As they moved closer, the ship's sensors picked up a massive structure, ancient and vast, floating in the void. "It looks like a fortress," Mira whispered, "but it's unlike any technology we know." Oblivion's AI analyzed the data. "This structure predates known civilizations. It may hold answers or dangers." Inside the fortress, shadows moved. Eyes watched the approaching warship. Figure emerged, tall, cloaked in darkness with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce the void. "They have returned," the figure said in a voice that echoed through space. "Humanity dares to challenge the old powers again." Back on Oblivion, alarms blared. The fortress activated defenses, ships and weapons that rose like ghosts from the dark. Kale and Mira prepared the warship for battle. "This fight is bigger than us," Kale said. "But we won't back down." Oblivion's weapons fired bright beams into the dark, while the enemy struck back with deadly precision. The battle shook the stars. Kale felt the ship's pulse syncing with his own heartbeat. "Mira, one," shouted, "we have to get inside that fortress. Find out what they want." The warship pushed through the enemy lines, landing on the fortress surface. Kale, Mira, and a small team disembarked, stepping into cold silence. Ancient symbols glowed faintly on the walls. "We are not alone," Mira said. From the shadows, a voice spoke again. "Welcome, children of Earth. Your fight has only just begun." Kale and Mira stepped deeper into the ancient fortress. The walls pulsed with strange energy, lighting their path with flickering blue symbols. Every step echoed in the silent halls. "This place is alive," Mira whispered. But not like any life we know. Kale's eyes scanned the shadows. We're being watched by something old and very powerful. Suddenly the wall shifted. Hidden panels slid open, revealing strange devices that hummed softly. The team moved cautiously, unsure if these machines were friend or foe. A holographic figure appeared, shimmering with light and shadow. Its voice was calm but filled with authority. I am the guardian of the ancients. You have awakened powers lost for eons. Kale stepped forward. Who are you? Why have you been watching us? The guardian's eyes glowed. We are the architects, creators of many worlds and keepers of balance. The architect you fought was a failed experiment, a corruption of our design. Mira frowned. So the architect wasn't natural? It was made? Yes, the guardian replied. And now, new threats, raise forces that even we cannot control. The guardian showed them visions, dark shadows spreading across galaxies, consuming stars and life. Our time is ending, the guardian said. We need your help, humanity. You have proven your strength and spirit. Kyle exchanged a look with Mira. You want us to fight for you? Not just fight, the guardian said. To lead. You carry the spark of creation within you. It is time for humanity to step forward. Suddenly, alarms sounded. The fortress shook violently. The dark forces have found us, the guardian warned. Kale and Mira rushed back toward Oblivion with the urgent news. Outside, enemy ships swarmed the fortress, firing beams of deadly energy. Oblivion's weapons blazed, shielding the team's escape. Kyle gritted his teeth. We may have won a battle, but the war is far from over. Mira looked at the stars. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. This is the future of all life.